Call your bank. That's the line. Merchant support scripts have been trained on it for years. Something goes wrong with an order, a subscription, a refund that's taken too long, and the rep says, you'll want to dispute that with your bank, and then hangs up. It sounds like a customer service handoff, but it's actually a cost transfer. Merchants move the cost of their own service failures onto banks, and banks have been quietly eating it for over a decade. Javelin Strategies' 2026 research found that in 75% of dispute cases, the customer goes straight to the bank, not the merchant. And separate data on contact behavior puts this even further. Over half of cardholders never even attempt to reach the merchant first. That's not a support failure on the customer's end either. That's the intended path. Call your bank isn't the last resort anymore. For a lot of merchants, it's the first line in the refund process. And when you look at why people actually call their bank, the myth is that it's mostly login problems, lost cards, but it's not. In banking industry surveys, unexpected charges and billing discrepancies are consistently the #1 reason that people call. Ahead of password resets, ahead of card replacement, ahead of everything else people assume dominates that call volume. Every one of those calls has a real number attached to it. Industry benchmarks put the average cost of a contact center call between $3 and $6. And for financial services specifically, some benchmarks run closer to $6.50, sometimes higher once you factor in specialized dispute handling staff, compliance requirements, and regulation timelines. Some estimates say that a chargeback costs a bank about $100 every single time. Multiply that by volume. U.S. card issuers handled up to 105 million disputes in 2024 alone, worth about $11 billion. That's up from $7.2 billion just 5 years earlier. That growth isn't fraud getting worse at the same rate transactions are growing. It's volume of just call your bank traffic scaling right along with e-commerce. Every one of those calls means a longer hold queue for the person calling about something the bank actually caused: a fraud alert, a lost card, an account lockout. The merchant's unresolved billing issue and your lockout debit card are sitting in the same exact phone tree. Here's the number that should bother every merchant pushing customers towards the bank instead of their own support line. A meaningful share of what shows up as fraud in the call volume actually isn't fraud at all. Estimates on what's called friendly fraud, a cardholder disputing a transaction they actually made, range from around 45% on the conservative end up to 70 or 80% depending on whose data you trust. Some of that is deliberate, but a lot of it isn't. It's a customer who didn't recognize a billing descriptor, forgot a recurring charge, or just found it faster to call the 800 number on the back of their card than to fight with a merchant support chat. That volume didn't have to land on the bank's phone lines. It landed there because the merchant experience made the bank the path of least resistance. This isn't free on the issuer side of the relationship either. MasterCard's own research found that 17% of cardholders slow down or stop using a card entirely after a bad dispute experience. So the bank absorbs the labor cost, they absorb the hold time cost to every other customer waiting in the queue, they handle the regulatory timeline, and still risk losing the cardholder relationship if the resolution somehow feels slow or even unclear. Merchants get to keep the customer relationship clean. Banks get the workload and the risk. None of this is subtle once you look at where the incentives sit. A merchant support cost is a line item they control. A bank dispute handling cost is a regulatory overhead they can't turn away. So the industry did what you would expect an industry to do. It pushed the expensive part downstream onto the party that's obligated to pick up the phone no matter what. And the fix isn't complicated. It's not really about banks. It's about merchants owning the resolution before it ever becomes a dispute. A clear billing descriptor, fast refunds, support they don't say call your bank at step 1. Every one of those fixes is cheaper than a chargeback. Most merchants just haven't been forced to do the math. Well, that's where we come in at Arconic. We help clean up those billing descriptors and keep them off the phone completely. Visit www.arconic.com to learn more about what we're doing and how we can keep this volume completely out of all of your queues to begin with. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you soon.